I caught her red-handed in our own kitchen, of all places. She thought I was working late, but I forgot my laptop and came home early. What I saw will haunt me forever. My fiancée, half-dressed, straddling a sanitation worker on the table where we used to eat dinner. And the worst part? She smiled when she saw me. Not a hint of shame. Just that smirk like I was the idiot for trusting her. I was supposed to be on the late shift that night. But halfway through my drive to work, I realized I'd left my laptop on the kitchen counter. I turned around and came home. No calls, no texts. I figured she'd be out for her yoga class or watching one of those true crime documentaries. We were engaged, set to be married in 3 months. Our lives were all planned out. House, wedding, kids. I thought I was the luckiest man alive. I opened the door quietly, not trying to sneak, just being considerate in case she was napping. The living room was quiet. But when I stepped into the hallway, I heard something. Low sounds. Muffled. Then laughter. A man's voice. I froze. There shouldn't have been anyone else in the house. As I got closer to the kitchen, I could smell it. Sweat. Something sharp and unclean. My stomach tightened. The door to the kitchen was half open. I pushed it gently, and that's when I saw it. Her. Emily. My Emily. Bent over the table, kissing some guy like her life depended on it. And not just any guy. This man was wearing a city sanitation uniform. Filthy boots. A neon vest. The kind of person she used to joke about when she'd see trash collectors in the morning. She'd wrinkle her nose and say she couldn't imagine doing that kind of job. He had his hands on her like they'd done this before. Like he knew every inch of her body. She saw me, looked right at me, and smiled. Not a word. Just that smirk. Like I was some charity case she'd gotten tired of pretending to love. The guy turned around, confused, then looked at me with zero fear. No shame. Just stood there like I was interrupting his shift. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I walked out. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't get my keys in the ignition. I sat in the car for half an hour before I could breathe right. I kept asking myself the same thing over and over. Why him? Why not a lawyer, or someone better looking, richer, stronger? Why a sanitation worker? I guess because it wasn't about him. It was about humiliating me. I didn't go to work that night. I drove around until sunrise. Didn't answer her texts. Didn't call my friends. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I loved her. I was going to marry her. And she gave herself to some guy who probably smelled like the back of a garbage truck. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part came the next day, when I came back home, and she laughed in my face. I walked back into our apartment the next morning because I didn't know what else to do. I had nowhere else to go. My brother lived across the state. My parents were out of the picture. And deep down, I think a part of me hoped she'd be crying, apologizing, telling me it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that she was drunk, vulnerable, whatever lie would soften the blow. Instead, she was in the kitchen, same spot, eating a bowl of cereal like nothing happened. When she saw me, she didn't say a word at first, just spooned another bite into her mouth, looked at me like I was late for something. Then she smiled. Oh, you're still here. I asked her one question. Just one. Why him? She laughed. I didn't even know she could laugh like that. It was cold, sharp, like someone watching a comedy show where I was the punchline. She leaned against the counter, put her spoon down slowly, and said, "Because you're predictable. Because you trust too easy." I wanted to see how far I could push it. I felt like the floor gave out under me. My heart wasn't just breaking, it was folding in on itself. You wanted to see how far you could push it? You wouldn't have found out if you didn't forget your laptop, she said. You were never supposed to come back. But it's kind of cute. You thinking this changes anything. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there like a statue, trying to keep my breath steady. Then she kept going. You know what your problem is? You make it too easy to lie. You're always asking me if I'm okay, if I'm happy, if I need anything. I told myself, if you ever asked the right questions, I'd stop. But you didn't. So I didn't. I wanted to hate her, but I couldn't. Not yet. I still loved her. Somehow. I asked her if she was going to end it. With him, she asked. Oh, you think it's just one guy? That was the moment the last piece of me fell apart. She stepped closer, put a hand on my chest like she was comforting a friend. Don't take it personally. Some people are built to be loved. Others are just background. Your background, babe. Then she kissed me on the cheek. I think she expected me to snap, to scream, maybe even hit something. But I just said, I still want to fix this. And that made her laugh the hardest. She said, God, you really are sad. You think love is supposed to save people. Newsflash, you're not a hero. You're a footnote. I left. Again. But this time, it wasn't because I was hurt. It was because something in me changed. Not anger. Not revenge. Conviction. She wanted to humiliate me? Fine. But I wasn't going to stay the background. She wanted to see how far she could push? Well, I was going to show her just how far I could push back. I spent the next 2 nights on my friend Greg's couch, barely sleeping. He kept asking questions. What happened? What did she do? Was it someone I knew? I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just kept seeing that smirk on her face, the way she said I was background, the way she kissed my cheek like she was sealing a letter she'd already thrown in the trash. By the 3rd night, something clicked. I didn't want her back anymore. I wanted her to regret every second she ever thought I was weak. So I made a list. Not on paper. In my head. A quiet list of every financial string we shared, every vulnerability she'd forgotten about because she assumed I'd never fight back. The wedding was supposed to be in 12 weeks. We had a joint savings account set up specifically for it, over $18,000 inside. I checked the online banking. It was still there, still under both our names. She hadn't touched it, probably too confident I wouldn't make a move. Then I remembered something else. She didn't know how taxes worked. I've been filing hers for the past 3 years because math gives me anxiety, she used to say. I still had her logins for everything: email, social media, her TurboTax account. I went deeper. Our lease? My name only. Utilities? Same thing. Credit card she used at Sephora every week? That was my second card, the one I opened for her with a $5,000 limit she never paid off. I paid it. Every time. Like a fool. But not anymore. The next morning, I went to the bank. I pulled all the money from the wedding account and moved it to mine. When the clerk asked, "Would you like to notify the other account holder?" I smiled and said, "No. I think she'll figure it out." Then I drove to the leasing office. Explained I'd be terminating early and covering the fee. I told them she'd need to apply separately if she wanted to stay. After that, I canceled her credit card. She tried to use it 2 hours later at some online boutique. I know because I got the fraud alert. By nightfall, the text started. "Emily, did you move the money? Emily, what is wrong with you? Emily, we need to talk. Emily, are you serious right now?" I didn't answer. I needed her rattled. I needed her confused. Because if she was rattled, she'd start making mistakes. And I needed those mistakes. That night, I created a burner email. I subscribed her to job listings across the country, booked 2 fake moving consultations under her name, submitted a form to have her mail forwarded to a non-existent address in Arizona. I was going to cancel it later. This wasn't about ruining her life. Not yet. This was about sending a message. You wanted to see what I'd do when I stopped trusting you? Well, this is step 1. And you won't see the next step coming. She showed up at Greg's place the next morning. I was in the back room pretending to sleep, but I heard the whole thing. She banged on the door like a cop with a warrant, yelling my name through the wood. "Tell him I just want to talk," she said. "Greg, please. I'm not here to fight. I just want to understand." Understand? She didn't want to understand anything. She wanted to regain control. Greg didn't let her in. Just stood at the door and said, "He doesn't want to see you." That was it. No yelling. No drama. When she left, I looked at my phone again. Dozens of missed messages. One voicemail stood out. I played it. Her voice cracked as she said, "I don't know what you're trying to do, but it's not going to work. You're being petty. You're proving I was right about you." Right about me. That hit harder than I expected. She still didn't see what was happening. Still thought I was the same soft, stupid man who would melt the second she cried. She didn't know I'd already filed a fraud alert on her behalf. See, last year she started doing freelance marketing gigs under the table. She used a fake LLC to avoid taxes. I had the emails, the payment receipts, and most importantly, I had access to the Google Drive she used for invoices. So I emailed her first client from a burner. Attached screenshots. Sent a polite message asking, "Did you know the person you hired never registered this business and has no tax ID?" Didn't sign it. Didn't need to. Within 24 hours, the client froze her last payment. Then I got creative. Remember that second phone line I added for her 2 years ago? She never changed it out of my name. Still listed under my account. So I called the carrier and reported the number as stolen. They froze it and mailed a replacement to my address. Her phone shut off at 3:14 p.m. At 3:37 p.m., she showed up at my work. Hair a mess. No makeup. wearing a hoodie I hadn't seen in 2 years. She waited by the exit, holding a bag from her gym like she just happened to be nearby. I didn't speak. Just walked past her like she was another stranger on the sidewalk. She followed me to my car. "Are you seriously not going to say anything?" she snapped. I looked her in the eye. "Lose my number." She laughed, but it cracked halfway through. "You think you're winning? You think any of this matters? People like me don't stay down." "Good," I said. "Then you'll bounce back just fine." And I drove away. That night, I sent an anonymous tip to the building association of her new apartment. Attached video from her Instagram, where she was clearly hosting loud parties past curfew, despite the building's strict lease rules. Someone sent back a thank you. Said she'd be reviewed. I didn't feel guilty. I felt calm. I wasn't breaking her life. I was just showing her what it felt like to watch something fall apart, bit by bit. By the weekend, she was calling from friends' phones. By Monday, she was emailing me from a brand new Gmail account with the subject line, "Let's start over." She thought this was the end of the war. She didn't realize it was just the first round. For 3 days, silence. No emails. No texts. No burner numbers. Nothing. I thought maybe she finally got the message. Maybe I'd cracked her ego enough to make her back off. I was wrong. The email came on a Wednesday at 8:03 a.m., subject line, "Forwarded mail. Thought you'd like to see this." It was a PDF. 1 page. Notice of overdue balance, account in default. Amount due, $11,743.82. My name at the top. It was from the credit card we'd used for the venue deposit. The same venue I thought I canceled online 2 weeks ago. I didn't think I needed to call, didn't think they'd process anything after the cancellation. But she had called after me, reinstated the reservation under my name, told them I was having second thoughts and that we'd cleared everything up. I called the venue in a panic. The manager said, "Oh, yes, your fiancée called again last week. She said you'd cover the full cost and apologized for the confusion." I asked, "Did she sign anything?" He said, "No need. The original contract is still binding. It's under your name only." That's when I realized what she'd done. She let me strike first. Let me get cocky. Then hit me where it hurt most, my wallet and my pride. I called my bank. Too late. The first installment already processed. She timed it perfectly. And it didn't stop there. That afternoon, my employer called me into HR. Said they received an anonymous tip claiming I'd been using company time to stalk and harass a former partner. Said it came with screenshots, emails, phone records, credit card disputes. The HR rep was gentle. Said she didn't believe it, but they still had to log the report and open a file. I sat there, nodding, trying to act calm. But inside, I was unraveling. She wasn't just fighting back. She was destroying the ground I stood on. That night, I got a message from her best friend Rachel. We'd been cool once. She even told me Emily was lucky to have me. But now? "Rachel, you seriously think you can ruin her and just walk away? Rachel, you want more? You're about to drown in it." I didn't respond. Not because I was calm. Because I was rattled. She was making calls. She was spinning a story. She was turning people I knew into weapons. And worse, she was good at it. She posted a photo on Instagram the next morning. Her and a new guy. Janitor uniform. Holding trash bags. Smiling. Caption: "Upgrade nail polish. Some people work behind screens. Others handle real messes." Thousands of likes. Hundreds of comments. Every word a bullet aimed straight at me. People tagged me. People laughed. She was mocking me in public now. I had thought I was playing chess. But she was out there flipping the whole board. And for the first time since this all began, I wasn't sure I could win. I didn't sleep that night. Not a minute. I laid on Greg's old futon staring at the ceiling, replaying that Instagram post in my mind, the one with her and that janitor grinning like they'd just won the lottery. It wasn't just petty. It was strategic. She knew I'd see it. She wanted me to see it. And that meant one thing. She was still watching me too. I stopped playing defense. It was time to put her in check. First, I revisited everything I still had access to: logins, documents, mutual agreements she forgot about. Then I remembered the storage unit. We shared it. Rented it during our engagement to store extra furniture, wedding decorations, and boxes of old stuff. The unit was in my name. The automatic billing went through my card. She never even asked about it. So I went there. It was exactly as I remembered: dusty, cold, and full of things she cared about more than I ever realized. Designer handbags in original boxes. signed vinyls from her dad's collection, family photo albums, childhood diaries, and the wedding dress. All of it just sitting there. I took photos of everything, itemized them. Then I called a lawyer, not to sue her, to file a claim of ownership. See, technically, the contents belonged to both of us, but the contract on the unit was mine alone. I had receipts showing I paid for it. For the last 6 months. Every month. The lawyer confirmed it. You're within your rights to remove or sell these items. Just make sure you keep records of what's taken. So I made a listing. Estate sale. 1 weekend only. I didn't use her name. I didn't put my name either. I just uploaded clean photos of every handbag, every designer shoe, every record sleeve, without context. But I sent the link. I emailed it from a fresh anonymous account. Subject, since you like trash, thought you wouldn't miss this. She called 5 minutes later, screamed into my voicemail, cursed me out in ways I'd never heard her speak, not even when we fought at our worst. The next day, she showed up in person. Again. But this time, she was shaking. She wasn't dressed to mock me. She wasn't playing the confident villain. She was scared. Please, she said, don't touch the storage. There's stuff in there I need. I stared at her. You mean like the dress? She blinked. I already sold it. She covered her mouth like she might throw up. I could see it. Her control, her composure, the whole Queen act, cracking. I'll pay you back, she said. Just don't sell anything else. But I wasn't done. You'll pay me back? I repeated. Like the venue fee? Or the client I lost because of your little HR stunt? Her face went pale. I didn't, she started. Don't lie. I cut her off. Then I pulled out my phone. Opened the email I'd been saving. It was from one of her former freelance clients. The same one I tipped off anonymously. She'd written back. Thanks for the heads up. I checked. She has been dodging taxes. We've cut ties permanently. I turned the screen so Emily could see it. That was when she stepped back. For the first time since this all started, she looked small. I didn't say another word. I just turned and walked away. This time, I didn't have to slam a door to make a point. I'd taken the things she really valued. And I did it quietly, legally, and without her seeing it coming. But the war wasn't over. Because just 2 days later, she struck harder than ever. I thought I had her cornered. Thought she was finally backing down. But I underestimated her. Badly. It hit me on a Friday evening. I walked into Greg's apartment, ready to share my next move. I had found a way to expose an old email chain between Emily and one of her freelance clients, where she asked to be paid off the books in cash. I planned to forward that to a CPA friend of mine who could anonymously tip off the IRS. I was 2 steps ahead, or so I thought. Greg looked pale when I walked in. He was holding his tablet. You remember signing anything for her in February? He asked. I froze. What do you mean? He handed me the screen. It was an email. Subject line. Attached agreement. Shared lease cohabitation addendum. A PDF opened underneath. A cohabitation agreement. With my signature on it. Dated February 11th. It was from the time we moved into that new apartment together, when she'd handed me a stack of documents to sign for utilities, rent, furniture insurance. I didn't read every page. I trusted her. Now I was looking at a contract that said, in the event of a relationship dissolution, the undersigned agrees to forfeit any rights to shared assets or deposits tied to the property. And worse, another clause, any damages, sales, or liquidations of shared belongings post-separation without mutual consent shall be considered a breach, subject to civil penalties. She had set a trap months ago, before the affair, before I ever saw her on that kitchen table. She had planned for war, and I walked right into it. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, a courier showed up at Greg's place. A thick manila envelope. Inside, a formal notice of breach. She was suing me for the sale of her property from the storage unit. Claimed emotional damages. Claimed I liquidated belongings without permission. Items she now said were gifts from her late grandmother. Included were photos I'd taken for the estate sale listing. She had screen captured them and printed them as evidence. She also claimed the photos violated her privacy, even though they were of handbags and shoes. Nothing personal, but she spun it hard. I called my lawyer. He wasn't optimistic. She's got paper trails, he said. And you sold at least 3 things worth over $800. That makes it easy to file in small claims or even push for restitution under civil harassment statutes. Honestly, this is aggressive. That word stuck with me. Aggressive. She wasn't just reacting anymore. She was hunting. The final blow came that afternoon. My employer pulled me into another HR meeting. They'd received a second complaint. Anonymous, but more detailed this time. Included screenshots of our shared social media from the past. Claimed I had a pattern of psychological manipulation. Said I'd threatened to weaponize tax and financial systems against a former partner. It was enough for the company to put me on indefinite leave. No paycheck. No work laptop. They were reviewing my employment status pending investigation. I walked out of that office with a cardboard box of my things and a pit in my stomach. She had stripped me of income, reputation, and leverage in one coordinated sweep. And the worst part? She smiled when she texted me that night. Emily, still think this is your game? She was winning again. And for the first time, I wasn't sure I could come back from this one. I was done reacting. She'd hit me from every angle, financially, legally, professionally. And it worked. For a moment, she had me against the ropes. But what she didn't know was this. I wasn't trying to win the same war anymore. She wanted noise, scandals, screenshots, and lawsuits. I decided to go quiet. First, I deleted every social media account I had. Not deactivated, deleted. No trace left. Then I got a new number. A clean one. Only Greg and my lawyer had it. She couldn't watch me if I disappeared. Next, I hired someone. Not a private investigator. A forensic accountant. I told him one thing. Track everything she's earned in the last 18 months. See, while she was freelancing under fake LLCs, she was also receiving Venmo payments from private clients. She bragged once about never claiming more than 30% of it on her taxes. Called it her underground bonus system. I found screenshots. Saved chats. Even a voice memo where she joked with a friend about how easy it is to beat the system when your boyfriend does your taxes. That voice memo? I sent it, anonymously, to the IRS whistleblower program. With attached documentation. Receipts. Invoices. Client names. Not just missed income. Intentional fraud. Let her explain that to federal auditors. But that wasn't the big move. The big move came when I remembered something she never mentioned anymore. Her scholarship. 2 years ago, Emily enrolled in a graduate marketing program, fully funded by a diversity and ethics grant from a private foundation. The grant had strict conditions. No history of legal misconduct. No undisclosed income. No behavior that reflects poorly on the institution. I still had access to the student portal. I downloaded her coursework records, screenshots of her Instagram captions mocking corporate morality, and even a TikTok she posted making fun of clients while saying she was taking their money tax-free. I packaged it all into a report. Sent it to the foundation's review board. Again, anonymously. 3 days later, I received confirmation. They had opened a formal ethics review. If they pulled that scholarship, she'd be on the hook for $46,000 in tuition. And this time, there was no smirk from her. No sarcastic texts. No Instagram captions. Just silence. And then, something I hadn't expected. Rachel messaged me. The same best friend who'd attacked me weeks earlier. She sent a single line. Rachel, what did you do to her? I didn't respond. Because this time, I didn't need to explain myself. She built her throne out of lies. All I did was remove the floor. And as far as I could tell, she was falling. I hadn't heard from her in over a week. No messages. No warnings. No new threats. Nothing. It was too quiet. Then, on a Thursday morning, I woke up to my phone lighting up nonstop. Greg was calling. My lawyer. Even my old college roommate texted, Dude, you seeing this? I opened my email and saw the headline everywhere. Freelancer faces investigation over false claims, alleged harassment from ex-fiancée. My name was in the subtext. She went public. She'd filed a restraining order temporary, but it made headlines in the local business community. Claimed I'd stalked her, used digital manipulation to ruin her finances, and interfered with her graduate program out of vengeful obsession. She submitted screenshots, DMs, and out-of-context voicemails. And it worked. I was now the villain. My employer, already on edge, terminated my contract to avoid reputational risk. I checked my bank app. My accounts were frozen pending a fraud review. Even Greg's landlord got spooked and asked if I was staying much longer. And then the bombshell. My lawyer called. She's filed a civil claim for emotional damages, he said. She's asking for $85,000. And it looks like she has legal backing. But I have proof of what she did, I said. I know. But now you're the aggressor on paper. That changes things. She'd flipped the script. Turned everything around. And this time, the world believed her. She was the woman betrayed, digitally harassed by a bitter man who couldn't handle being rejected. Even I started to doubt myself for a moment. The court date was set. The IRS case? Delayed due to ongoing legal complications. Her grad review board? Silent now, citing external interference as a complicating factor. It was checkmate, and she knew it. That night, she posted a photo of herself at a rooftop lounge, holding a glass of champagne. Caption: Good girls win. Every single time. The comments were endless. So proud of you. You're unstoppable. Let the haters drown. But here's the part she didn't know. 2 months ago, when I pulled my name from the shared wedding account, I requested a bank log export for my records, just in case. What I didn't realize then was that the export included location metadata, and one of the flagged transactions? A $417 charge to a boutique hotel in a nearby town. The same night she told me she was visiting her aunt for mental health space. Guess who the second guest was? I dug deeper. Matched the check-in time with security footage from the hotel lobby. You could request it if you were the cardholder. And there she was, Emily, checking in with the judge's son. I didn't know his name back then, but I remembered his face. The same guy who sat at her birthday dinner, 3 seats from me, back when we were still engaged. The same guy her mother always tried to push toward her during family mixers. Turns out, she wasn't just playing me. She was sleeping with someone whose last name matched the very name on the restraining order docket. And if that detail ever reached the ethics board or the courthouse, well, suddenly, the woman who always wins wouldn't be so bulletproof. She'd just forgotten one thing. Even liars leave footprints. I sat across from the ethics committee chair, a stern woman in a gray blazer with no patience for drama. She tapped her pen once, then twice. You're certain about the identity of the man in the footage? I slid the photo across the table. It was a still from the hotel lobby. Emily. And beside her, Daniel Thorne, son of the very judge who'd signed her emergency protective order. The timestamp didn't lie. Neither did the room receipt, which I obtained legally as the cardholder. Yes, I said. And I believe this relationship influenced how she weaponized the court system. She nodded once. We'll review this. Carefully. I left the building knowing I'd just started a chain reaction that couldn't be stopped. If they pursued this, if the footage, the relationship, the restraining order, the civil claim, all connected the way I believed, it wouldn't just cost her a scholarship. It would bury her reputation, professionally and publicly. Her name would be radioactive. That night, I slept for 9 hours straight for the first time in months. The next morning, she showed up. No warning. No texts. Just a knock on Greg's door. Greg opened it, then called me from the hallway. She's here, he said, barely above a whisper. You need to see this. I stepped into the living room. She was standing in the entryway in a hoodie, hair tied back, face pale, no makeup, no cameras, no smug smirks, no defense. She looked like a shell. And then, she dropped to her knees. I know, she whispered. I know what you found. About Daniel. About the judge. About the grant. She pulled a flash drive from her pocket and set it on the coffee table like it was a detonator. This is everything. Every message. Every lie. Every fake invoice. Every call I made to HR. The restraining order, Daniel drafted it. I just signed it. I said nothing. She kept going. I don't care what happens to me anymore. But please, don't take the grant. Don't destroy everything. Her voice cracked. She was shaking. You want me gone? I'll leave. I'll disappear. You want money? I'll pay it. I'll retract every claim. I'll go public. I'll tell the truth. Just don't send this to the review board. Tears ran down her face, but for the first time since this started, I believed they were real. And I realized something. This wasn't about revenge anymore. I could win. I had won. But what came after? Nothing. Just more silence. More scorched earth. I picked up the flash drive, turned it in my hand. Then I walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer, dropped it in the back, closed it. She stared at me. I said only one thing. I forgive you. She broke down sobbing. And I turned around, walked back to the guest room, shut the door. I don't know what she did after that. I never checked. But the drive's still in the drawer. Untouched. Because at the end of it all, what would you have done in my place?